So hi everyone, it's Joe here, and you'll notice today I'm joined by a very special guest. I want to introduce Marvin. Marvin, as you know, has done multiple videos with Agnes Vivarelli, as have I. So yeah, we're just wanting to get Marvin on, we'll have a little discussion. So Marvin, introduce yourself.
Everyone, how are we all doing? I'm so glad to be doing this interview with Scottish Joe, and because Joe is huge on the Neville mechanics. I mean, he's someone I recommend tremendously when breaking down the mechanics of attracting, especially using Neville's work. So very glad to be here. Can't wait to jump into today's topic because I know everyone is going to love it.
Awesome, man, awesome. Yeah, so the topic today is the most popular one for the Neville community, and not just the Neville community, the whole law of attraction, you name it. Everyone wants to break this down, and it's the topic of a specific person. So the reason I've got Marvin on is, of course, Marvin has successfully attracted back his specific person slash ex. And we were talking about this before we went online, Marvin. I want to kind of little break down a little bit about the mechanics. So obviously, a lot of people follow Agnes's channel, and it's predominantly based around self love, which I also feel is massively important. But I want to break that down into how that ultimately is a state of consciousness of being love. So I think we'll kind of discuss how self love affected you and how it impacted your progress, how it ultimately got your results. But we're kind of going to break down the mechanics of what your state of consciousness was on that journey. So for those that haven't seen the original video, for those that aren't familiar with yourself, if you can just give like a brief breakdown of a little bit about your journey, that would be great.
Okay, so you want me to? I'm guessing I should start from beginning of.
Very beginning, yeah. So from the lower state, the more unconscious state, and then just very brief, we'll talk about from what you've done at the start to the end, and then from the end, we'll kind of break down the middle as we go along.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, I mean, when you talk about states of consciousness, especially in the beginning, my state of consciousness was nowhere near where it was supposed to be. But I'm very grateful because the entire situation is what allowed me to open and expand my consciousness. And this is the huge blessing that I received from this entire, journey, which is now 7 years. At the time when I manifested my SP back, it was only 5 years because this was in 2018 you're talking about, but now it's 2020. So, we're this entire journey has been 7 years in, and I'm grateful that it happened that way. So in the beginning, I would say, my awareness, I would say I always had a pretty strong awareness, as far as, being secure and, kind of feeling like I've never naturally not been someone who had like low self-esteem or whatever the case may have been. It just like a lot of things just needed to be like, I guess, like a car, like just get a tune up. You know what I'm saying? Because in that moment when someone leaves you, it's like you forget, and your consciousness kind of goes out the window with it. And you're like, because you put all your, basically you put your consciousness that we're talking about. I feel like you put so much of your consciousness in that person, and you start to become that person, and you lose your consciousness. You lose that I amness. And I think that's what was a big thing for me is what I lost. And so yeah, once I kind of started reading and learning over the 5 years or whatever the case may be, that's when I realized, like, okay, I'm doing something wrong here. What am I doing something wrong? Because when everything first transpired, I was reading, but I wasn't applying. Those first however many 2-3 years, I was reading and I wasn't applying. And then I kind of like tried to apply maybe in 2017, and then 2018 is when I really got disciplined and said, okay, I'm going to come up with a game plan. I'm going to try to do my visualizations, excuse me, at least, 2-3 times a week. And then, I'm going to do this. But I noticed, to me, when you talk about consciousness, I noticed that I really got results, I think, when I really became, and I really got into, and I'll let you elaborate on this more, when I really started working on self-love. To me, that's when I think that's when I really got results that year. And I think it was less than a year because I started in 2018, and then it was like the end of October of 2018 when my specific person had reached out to me. And I think because I was doing the other stuff, visualizing and things like that, because I tell people this all the time, to you don't need to have self-love to manifest what you want. People get that confused. They're like, oh, I need self, like you technically, literally, like with Neville's work and everything, like you don't need to have self-love. A lot of people don't have self-love, but we manifest stuff all the time without having it. But what I tell people is if you want to keep what you want, I feel like self-love is a huge piece. And to me, I believe that's when I got what I wanted, is when I really became conscious of I am love. I am first best. And getting in that state, and what Neville talks about is, and because Neville, he doesn't say I'm first best. He doesn't say those types of words, but when he describes I am, that's what he's talking about. And so people, I guess they get kind of confused with that. Like I said, I'll let you elaborate more on that. But I think that's when I got that piece, that's when I think I attracted, and I think it could have happened sooner. I think I could have attracted, my SP back. I think it didn't have to take 5 years. I think it would have happened in the first, year or two,
Yeah.
if I had actually applied the work and was consistent, et cetera, et cetera. But I wasn't, and also I wasn't just like waiting around, because I know when people hear my story, like it sounds like, oh, you waited for 5 years and you didn't do anything, you weren't having fun, you were miserable, and it's like, no, like the entire 5-year period, I was living my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I was still going out if I wanted to. I was, having fun. I was building, at the time, my real estate business. Like I was doing so many different things. And it wasn't like I was just at home crying like, oh, I miss my SP. I miss my, like I said, I've never been that person. Like I was never that miserable, sad, Debbie Downer or whatever. Like that was never me. Like I naturally have always had an optimistic spirit. So, I wasn't over contacting. I wasn't reaching out. I wasn't going on social media. I didn't do none of that stuff. So, but yeah, as far as consciousness, like I said, and I'll give it to you after I say this real quick. As far as consciousness, I think that's when I really got results, when that I am love and I am first best, really, really stuck with me.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant, man. It's excellent how what I love fascinating about that is how it took you about 3-4 years worth of maybe, as much as you were living your life, there was a lot of studying and a lot of knowledge going in and a lot of reading. And I remember vividly that you read Florence, Scovel, Shinn, which I love that book as well. It's amazing, one of the books I have. I find it fascinating how there was a lot of reading, and I love how you said that you read it and you understood it, but you knew yourself you didn't apply it. And then as soon as you started applying it, that's when you noticed the change. I love that because it's one thing I always lead with, and I always say that knowledge without application is futile. I always say knowledge without application is futile. The reason for that is, let's be honest. I could sit here and have, make 500,000 videos, and I could just talk about stuff I've read. If I don't apply that, then I'm not the best person I can be, because I can't gospelly say this works because I'm just, ripping from someone else who's written the book. When I can apply it and I can give examples of any manifestations I've had, which has been, job promotions, money, all these things, then I know it works. What I find fascinating though, with regard to the specific person, is when you mentioned getting into that I am love. How I took that was you really started accessing the feeling behind that statement. Now, one of the reasons I feel affirmations don't work is because people will say it and they'll just repeat, 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 but they don't feel like it's true. So because they're not feeling it, this is maybe something you done for 2 years. You maybe thought, I'm just going to affirm and then it'll work, but you didn't feel anything behind it. But then, as you said, you started applying it and you really got to that core of I am love. At that point, you start feeling it, but then because you felt it probably the first time, it becomes easier. You almost unlock that door to how that feels. And because you know how that feels, you can go back and open that door at any time in the day. You have the choice to go in at any time in the day. And I feel the key, while using this door analogy, is that you live in that room. You know, every state of consciousness is like a door that we can all open at any point in time. But the one that we live in, the state of consciousness we live in, is ultimately the one that bears the result. So what maybe happens is if we know what the feeling's like, we'll maybe keep going away from it, but we can go back. But then when we flip it round and we start living in there, but if we start drifting away, we're like, no, I am love, and we stay in, and we, you know, we bask in that feeling. And Neville talks about it as well. His book, Feeling is the Secret, that is literally it. It's feeling that it's true and feeling into that statement. One example I use a lot is I associate feeling with the ink when you stamp in a piece of paper. So I like to look at the stamp as the thing you want, and the paper as being like the subconscious mind. And the feeling that gets the thing you want onto the subconscious mind is the ink. And until you put that thing you want into the ink and then put it on the subconscious, it's not going to happen.
Wow.
You know, I love that. It was one thing that really stuck with me, and it's feeling that it's real, regardless of what's happening. Feeling that you are loved, and this is the thing. It probably leads us into a little bit into letting go. Now, I've made a video on letting go. I'm not entirely sure if you've made one about letting go, but
No, I haven't.
no. Well, one thing I like to. I mean, we spoke about this earlier as well. Letting go, I don't feel it happens forcefully. People will say, "Oh," because you get videos as well online, and it will say, "Oh, just let go and you'll get your thing." And people, the mind reads that and goes, "Oh, okay, I'll just let go." Then a day passes, and they're not in the state of consciousness, but then they will go, "Oh well, I let go." Well, you didn't, because you're still worried about the thing. Letting go, I feel, happens naturally, and that ultimately, I feel, comes from that self-loving state of consciousness of being love, of being the thing desired, to the point where if I am it, then I can't want it, and if I can't want it, then I have actually let it go, because I already am the thing. I mean, it would be like holding this bottle of water and thinking, right, you know, I can't want this because I've got it. Obviously, it's a massive scale in comparison, but it's the same concept, it's the same process. So, I mean, what's your take on letting go with regards to that? On letting go?
Well, I think you made a super cogent point as far as like the water bottle. You just bringing the water bottle up.
Mm-hmm.
I think if it's because holding on to your SP is just like holding on to a water bottle. If you hold on to a water bottle for 5 seconds with your arm straight out, you're not going to feel any pain. If you hold on to that water bottle for 5 minutes, you're probably not going to feel a lot of pain as well. But if you hold on to that water bottle for an hour, if you hold on to that water bottle with your arm straight out for 5 hours, for 10 hours, for 24 hours, for 30 days, for 90 days, you hold on to that water bottle, your arm, your hand is going to be tired as hell. You know what I mean? And I think that's what people do with their SP, when all they had to do was put the water bottle down.
Yeah.
That's literally all they had to do, so their hand and their arm could rest, is put the water bottle down.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great analogy. I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's a great analogy with SPs is, you have to let go of the water bottle. Mm-hmm. So your arm, your hand can rest, which in this example, your hand and your arm is basically your mind and your emotions.
Yeah.
So your mind and your emotions can rest. You have to put down the water bottle, because thinking about it is not, thinking and stressing about stuff never solves the problem. I don't understand why people do that. It's like they feel like, oh, if I think about it and I worry about it, that means I care. That means I care. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, no, if you just let go, letting go to me shows that you care.
Yes.
Letting go shows to me that a person trusts. And just because a person lets go doesn't mean that you're going to lose your SP. Because I
Yeah.
think so many times people think like, oh, if I let go, that means I don't care or I stop caring
Yeah.
about my SP. And it's no, it's not that you don't stop caring. It's you stop the obsession.
Yes.
You stop
Absolutely.
the neediness. You stop the trying to get. You stop all of that stuff, and letting go, as you know, Joe, because you've manifested so many things. It's like letting go is the key piece, knowing that it's already done, knowing
Yeah.
that you are one with whatever the desire it is. And that's why people don't let go, is because they don't know, they don't
Yes.
believe that they are one with their desire. If Neville says, I and the Father are one, consciousness, we are one, we are one and the same.
Yeah.
That I am state, that means whatever it is that I want, I'm already that.
Yeah.
That thing is already me. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people have with letting go is they don't know that. They don't know that they are whatever it is that they want to attract, that you
Yeah.
have that same energy, you have that same, those particles, that vibration, you're resonating at
Right.
like you said, when you get into that state, you truly can let go. And I think that's what helped me in my SP journey is I realized like, okay, I am loved. I am love. I don't need to get love from this person, this friend, this family member, this specific person, a new specific person. I'm already that. So like you said, let me bask in that feeling. Let me because when you really feel something, all it takes a lot, when you really get to that point and you feel something that deeply, you're in that state, you can literally do it one time and get what you want. A person
Yeah.
can get what they want after doing that one time, when the feeling is like, when you really feel it and believe it. And I think that's what people like Neville or, whatever, Buddha, Jesus, whoever the hell, I think these guys mastered like having that feeling one time.
Yeah.
One time, because now I'm at the point in my life now where I find myself, I'll be walking or I'll be just like, relaxing somewhere. And I just think to myself, wow, I feel like at times I don't even need to do affirmations. I feel like a lot of times I don't even need to do visualizations.
Yeah.
Because I've done so much work on myself already. And I know that I am whatever it is that I want.
Yeah.
And those feelings are so strong. And I think that's what helped me with a specific person is, okay, let go of the how, let go of the when, and just bask in that feeling and know that I am loved. And like I said, me personally, I think that's what brought my my SP back, is when I really bask in that feeling of I am loved, like I am first best, I am a priority, that
Yeah.
I am this. And I think that's really, really what did it. Because prior to that, like you said, you could visualize, you could say affirmations, but if there's no feeling behind it, then like you said, it's futile. It's not, you're not going to produce the fruit. And Neville speaks about this as well. He says it in, I don't know if it was a Power of Awareness, but he says it in so many lectures. I feel like thoughts and affirmations without feeling is voided.
Yeah.
It's all voided. Like you, and I think that's why so many people, people tell me, as well as they tell you, they say, oh, I'm trying to visualize me and my SP, and it's not, I can't do it. I can't do it. And I think it's because they still have those negative feelings.
Yes.
And they're trying to visualize while still having those negative feelings, still thinking about the past, and you can't get there that way. And then that's when, other techniques like revision or whatever the case may come in. But I mean, that's up to you if you want to go down that path. But
Well, you know what?
yeah.
I love all that, man. It's funny you mentioned the water bottle because it's true. I mean, I've just finished the water bottle and I've put it down. Okay, so I put the water bottle down. It's not disappeared anywhere. So this is going back to that. It's not going anywhere. I've put it down. I've taken a rest. But yeah, it's a great example. Also with regards to that, you mentioned something about knowing that it's done. Now that for me, I feel is letting go naturally when you know that it's done. And I think you can only know when it's done. I feel when as you say, you've applied the feeling, you've accessed the feeling, you know that you can go into imagination, experience the thing, get gather the feeling associated with the experience. And from there, you can then go about your way, knowing that you can always go back to that. But the key for me, I feel at this point, to get that little step to get to the knowing is trust and faith. That's why, I mean, Neville at the very beginning, he would always say, visualize it till you get it. And then at the end, as you say, one time, literally, he would sit in his chair. He would, if it was something he wanted, he would go home. He would sit in his chair. It could have taken him 2 hours, but he would sit. He would discipline the mind. He would imagine. He would experience a thing. And when he hit that satisfaction of having the thing, it was like, right, that's done. Cool, leave it, move on. Life goes on. But this is a thing. This is now the reality. It's almost like, you know, reality shifting. You just, you know, jump into a parallel reality at that point. But that is effectively what he done. It was like he'd spend hours and then go, right, that's done, cool, don't need to worry about it. And that's key with letting go. And I think you can only truly do that when you fully understand that your consciousness, that your subconscious, your awareness, that your I am is God. That when you can truly understand that and have full faith that works, that is the truth, then you can just do it once. You can feel it. Now, people will say, we've seen videos as well. People will say, "Oh, do this once and then it's done. Then you'll get it." And people expect the result the next day. Okay, things have got to shift. Things have got to happen. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and say, "Do this and have your SP back tomorrow." You know, it's not going to happen.
Right.
But when you get to that point, from an imagination / consciousness standpoint, it's done. It is done. So, and that kind of leads me into what I was going to ask next with regards to your situation in particular. Now, you talk about things like people say they can't imagine with their SP, they can't do it, and it's because they have negative thoughts. And I 100% agree with you on that. I think you're absolutely bang on the money there. What I want to ask though is, over that 5-year period, when you, because I'm certain you would have had thoughts about your SP in this period of time, did you notice on reflection how your thoughts about the person changed? And when you did think of the person, what were you telling yourself? Because I think this is going to be massive. I think it's crucial, that, because I feel, knowing that, it would be your thoughts about the person would completely change once you got into a better state of consciousness. So I'd love to hear on reflection what you were thinking about the person. This is probably for those who can't seem to let go either. I think it could be quite helpful.
Well, Joe, listen, that's a hell of a question and a great one. So I would say in the beginning, I would definitely say in the beginning that my thoughts were surrounded by anxiety, fear, hurt, anger, disbelief. I mean, pretty much any word, you could say any word on the low vibrational scale.
Yeah.
As you know, because everything's on a vibrational scale, and whatever is on the low end of the vibrational scale is what I was feeling, is what I was thinking, going back and forth in my mind about, oh, I should have did this, or she should have did this, or why did she do that, or she should have said this. And so that my consciousness in the beginning was just 100% around that. But as time went on, and as I began to educate myself, because I was very, very ignorant to the laws of the universe. I was very, very ignorant to the actual power of my thoughts, my words, my emotions, particularly my emotions. I was very ignorant to the fact of my I amness. And once I began reading and studying, I realized, like, oh man, like when you do the work on yourself, you literally take all the blame off of your specific person. You literally understand that, whatever they were doing, it's my fault. It's my fault. I attracted it. I attracted someone that confirmed whatever beliefs I had in me about me, my insecurities.
Yeah, just a quick thing on that, because I think this is massive as well. I think you'll probably be able to answer this as well. But I feel when you get to that point, it becomes a turning point. You can either go back into victim mentality or you can do something about it. So was that the case for you?
Exactly. I refuse because I always looked at myself as a winner. Like I said, I'm naturally optimistic. And so I refuse to go back to that victim mentality because that's the mentality I had in the beginning.
Yeah.
Was, oh man, I've been a victim. But then when I realized, and again, we're breaking down the mechanics of this thing. I realized I might have been a victim, and I very well, like for instance, a narcissist. If you're dealing with a narcissist, you really are the victim, but you're only the victim on the outside world.
Yeah.
That's where you're the victim. On the inside world, you are 100% not the victim. Mm-hmm. You are the one, you are responsible.
Yes.
And when I got that, that's when things clicked for me. And I realized, holy, like I might have been doing everything on the outside world perfect. But on the inside world, I was doing so much wrong. I was doing so much wrong on the inside in my thoughts and my emotions, the words I was speaking. And like you said, that's when it clicked and I said, okay, I have a choice to make. Either I'm going to continue to play the victim role or I'm going to change my inside so my outside can change. Yeah. And I decided to make that decision to change my insides and stop playing the victim and understand, like, Marv, you played a part in this too. You know, you played a huge part in this because it takes two people to tango. Yeah. People have always heard that saying. And so when I realized that, that's when my thoughts started to change about my specific person. And that's when I started to say, okay, that's when I started to have compassion and real unconditional love, because a lot of people don't realize you guys really don't love your SPs as much as you think you do. Your love is too conditional.
Yes.
A lot of you guys watching this video, your love is conditional love. It's not unconditional love, and you don't understand that.
Yeah.
And I want you guys, like you said earlier, Joe, to get that ink and stamp that into that and understand what real unconditional love is.
Yes.
Because absolutely. A lot of you guys that will watch this do not really truly have 100% unconditional love. And so when I had that aha moment, as people like Oprah like to say, I had that aha moment where, okay, I was loving her with conditions.
Yes.
Now I have to stop loving her with conditions because I understand I played a role in this too. I understand she has her issues. I understand I have my issues. And now I have to heal that. Yeah. Once I started healing that, whether it was revision, whether it was Ho'oponopono, that's when my feelings started to change. And I said, you know what? And I took my focus off of all the negative and I started to focus only on the positive, you know, because you get more of what you focus on. So I started to just think about the positive stuff, seeing the positive, feeling the positive, you know, hearing the positive, you know, whether it was, you know, manifesting a text message or, you know, hearing her say certain words that I wanted to hear her say, whether it was an apology or, you know, whatever the case might have been. Like I started focusing on that and taking my focus off of all of the negative stuff. And like I said, that is what helped me change the way I see my SP, because prior to that, it was just all low vibrational thoughts, feelings, words. And then once I opened up my awareness more and started learning more, I realized like, oh, wow, this mirror really has everything to do with me. It has nothing to do with her really.
Yeah.
It's all me. So.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I mean, for me, it makes perfect sense. Kind of going back over that as well, when you had that, you know, that aha moment when that click, I mean, I guarantee you would have had, you know, the thoughts probably, I mean, any thought of the person probably became gradually less frequent. But I feel it would be important for the type of thought that comes up or the action, the internal action when the thought, because I mean, we're human at the end of the day and we always seem to pass over memories, especially in imagination. I feel it's important that if anyone here watching this video gets to that point and they realize that person ultimately is them pushed out and they are just a reflection of what you have going on inside and you have to heal that. When you get that point, I feel it's not the quantity of thoughts you have about the person, it's the quality of the thoughts you have about the person. So you know, you go through the day, you know, you say you carried on living, you were doing your real estate business, loads of different things with yourself, and then you would have had a fleeting passing thought about the person. But what would have been really important for you probably would have been how you seen that person in imagination. It probably went from thinking, you know, when you thought about them, it may have brought up lack, as you say, anger, fear, perhaps a little bit of apathy. All these different things would have come up. But then when you had that switch, it would have went to, when you think about the person, excuse me, it would have been, oh, I love this person, all these different things would have came up, but they would have came up. It would have been so important. This is where, you know, being aware of your thoughts comes in. It's so important to be aware of that. When that thought comes up about that person, you don't immediately associate it with the past. Immediately associate it with with what you want to experience. And people will think, people will say, oh, whenever I think about my SP, I just think about how they hurt me, how I hurt them, how they're not talking to me, how they've blocked me. So they immediately associate this thought with the person, unaware that they chose that thought. They are continuing to choose and repeat that inward motion. So you're spinning that inside wheel, and it's not until you stop it and go to the other one and go, oh, you know, why wouldn't this person love me? I love this person so much. And it may be hard for the outside to believe it, or the mind to believe it, but you transcend that by feeling what it would feel like. And that in itself, it's that conscious choice of a perfect thought. And when you get that quality, and again, it's just practice. You practice it and you work on it and you feel into it and you feel how real it is. That's when the magic starts happening, I feel, anyway. Would you agree with that?
Listen, 100%. Because I think like there would be times where I would be, because when everything first transpired in 2013, and I would literally, or 2014, I would be in the office, because I used to go around that time. I used to go to the office all the time.
Yeah.
And I would be in the office, and whenever a thought would pop in my mind about my SP, it would just be something negative.
Yeah.
And filled with, I'm just replaying the story in my head, like you just said.
Yeah.
Replaying the story, replaying. But once I healed and got more into the I amness, whenever a random thought of my SP would pop into my head, I would do like in Florence's book, she talks about the guy that left the lady.
Yeah, the captain.
The cap. And she was carrying so much, anger towards the cap. And when she healed, she had a random thought. She would just say, God bless the cap. And that's the kind of shift that I had. Is I went from being angry to whatever to now, 4 or 5 years later, when I had a random thought about my SP, it was, I hope she's okay. God bless her. Whatever she's doing in life, I wish her well. And those are kind of my thoughts of how my thoughts changed. And so I agree with you 100% on changing and shifting your reality and changing the mental diet of how you see and talk about this person when they're not in the room, because they can feel that still. They can feel that how you're talking about them, how you're thinking about them, and it keeps them at bay because everything's energy. We're all connected,
Yeah, they're all connected, absolutely. Yeah, I love that, man. I love that example from that book, because it was one thing in particular, reading for me, it was one little thing that clicked just in general, with this, the journey. And it's so true. And again, it comes back to quality of thought versus quantity of thought. And that again comes back to letting go. Letting go, people, as you say, they don't want to stop thinking about. They think if I stop thinking about, therefore it means I don't care. Whereas you said, and I agree with you, letting go of that thought shows that you do care, because you don't want to keep going down that path, that journey of this thought, which, let's be honest, doesn't feel good. We seem to, one thing I always say as well is people seem to bask. People find comfort in discomfort. They become comfortably uncomfortable. They just get so used to being uncomfortable that it just becomes so natural that there's no way of getting out of it. where you've people don't want to accept it, but you've chosen that thought process. You've accepted that as being true. And when the world is showing up a thing which backs that up, you think, oh well, it is true. Unbeknown to you that you've unconsciously practiced that for so long, and now you're getting the result of it. Now we need to shift it and actually focus on what you do want. And it's whether you want to call it positive, optimism, it's really that change of thought. It's really that shift from, being uncomfortable to being comfortable. And if that means finding something out with your SP that makes you comfortable, so be it. If that, that's life. Life has to continue. And people think that, what am I going to do? And I understand that, it's grief, it's hurt, it's anger, all these things, and it's natural. Again, because we're consciousness having this human experience. I understand it, okay? Totally get it. But there has to be a flip and go, right, what can I do to come out of this? Because I don't like feeling this way. I just know that I am feeling this way. And again, that's I am. What can I do inside? If that means, binging a box set on Netflix, if that means going a run, if that means do it. If you get joy out of it, then so be it. It's fine. It's you're not gonna not manifest the person by just not thinking about them for half an hour or an hour. But just drop that train of thought. It's so important that when that thought comes up, that the thought isn't the past, and the thought isn't what you don't want to experience. The thought is what you do want to experience, and you choose that thought. People might not want to accept that, but you choose that particular thought. And as you've said perfectly, as time wore on and you had that, that realization, when you started thinking about the person, the thoughts were, I hope she's okay. I wish her well. And that for me is a brilliant switch from conditional love to unconditional love, because your thought wasn't conditional in the sense that I hope she's okay, then I'll manifest her. I hope this because I want to be with her. It was just naturally, I really hope she's well. I wish her so much good in the world. That in itself that's the difference, people. Unconditional love is that it's not I want them to be good so I can feel good. It's
Exactly.
wanting them to be good, because if they're good, because they are the reflection of you, you will feel good, and your feeling, it's not dependent on them feeling good, but you can create that version of them by you feeling good about them. You're making that reflection happen. You're creating that in the mirror. Does that make sense to you? Do you agree with that?
Joe, listen, I think there's nothing that I don't agree with you with. The way you just explained that, it was 100% correct, man. Like, and it was that. It was no. I wasn't only saying that because I wanted to, manifest the SP back, or whatever the case. It turned into, like you said, genuine. It was genuine. Whatever she's doing, whoever she's with, I wish all the best. You know what I mean? And that's real unconditional love. And people are afraid of that,
Yes.
because they're afraid of, their SP is going to leave, or their SP is not going to come back, or whatever the case may be, third party situations, and it's like, listen, when you really get, and this is what this whole interview is about, is when you really get into that I amness, when you really get into that I am state of, I am love, I am loved, I am first best, I am secure, I am wanted, I am needed, I'm highly cherished, I am highly desired, there's only me. When you get into that awareness,
Yes.
You realize, like, there is nothing outside of yourself.
Yeah.
You realize you are the prize. You realize you don't need any confirmation from an SP, or you realize that. And it takes time for most people to get there, which is okay. But understand that in that time period, you're building your faith, you're building a solid foundation. Yeah. That's what people are doing when they do this work, is they're building a solid foundation. Because like I said, you don't have to build a solid foundation to manifest shit.
No,
but when you manifest it, you're going to lose it, most likely. Because your I amness, your I am state hasn't been built on a solid foundation. So I can manifest $1 million. I can manifest $2 million. But if my consciousness is not up to par with that money,
yeah, consistently,
and I have a poverty mindset, guess what? I'm going to blow that money in literally less than 5 years or less than 2 years. Like, I'm going to blow that money so fast. I'm going to blow it so fast because my awareness, my consciousness, the God in me is not up to par with that money. And that's why people in the lottery win millions and they lose it all. Or that's why professional athletes have millions and they lose it all.
Yeah.
It's because they manifested it, but their consciousness is still not up to par. They don't really believe that they are wealthy. They don't really believe and feel that they should be wealthy. They feel guilt. They start to give money to friends and family and overpay people and get taken advantage of, et cetera, because their I amness, their God awareness is not where it's supposed to be. Same thing with specific people. You can manifest a specific person back multiple times. You know, I interviewed a chick that manifested her person back like 4 times or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because every time her consciousness wasn't where it was supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? So once you get your consciousness is where you're supposed to be, which is what we're talking about, and why I always say that whether you want to call it self-love, whether you want to call it, you know, your I am consciousness, your God, whatever you want to call it, is basically that I am state, that I am whatever it is that I want.
Yeah.
When you can resonate in that and really feel that to be real, that's when you can do anything you want and everything will work out, you know, in your favor because you build a solid foundation. And that's what I want everyone to do, is build a solid foundation so that when you manifest what you want, you can keep it.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And I loved the different affirmations you said at the start there, about being loved and secure and wanted. You know, one of the reasons I personally wouldn't use them is because you said it yourself. There's a need to get something still. Okay, so one thing, if I ever said that to myself, I would always look on the outside for validation on that statement, because the only way I can feel wanted is if someone wants me. The only reason I can feel cherished is if someone tells me that. Whereas if I can just take away all these somewhat, egotistical statements and just go into the just being loved, then that's me. I can feel that at my core. I don't need anyone to tell me that I am this or that, because if they tell me I am, then I disagree with that, because I am that I am. That's it. I am love. I don't need it from the outside. I don't need it from anyone. I don't need anyone to validate it, and that's the problem. I feel it as well with affirmations, is people will affirm it, and then they won't have validation on the outside, so they think it doesn't work. But what's happened is they've just repeated it, as I've said, without feeling that it's true, and then they've still looked on the outside for answers, and that's where people seem to trip themselves up. If you can just go into that feeling and just be it, know that that's what you are at your core, that that's your state of consciousness. And you're right, it has to be the building blocks, it has to be the solid foundation. And I loved your example about people who want to manifest money and they manifest $2 million and then they'll blow it in a week. It works the same the other way with people who have a wealthy mindset and they're rich and they own a big company and the company goes bankrupt, for instance, and the person goes bankrupt. In a few years' time, you see they've still got millions of pounds or dollars, whatever it is. Why? Because they have a wealthy abundance mindset. It's here, yeah, totally. It's their mindset. They're in the consciousness of being rich, regardless of what's happening in the world. They're just rich. They're wealthy. They're abundant. That is them at their core. And people think if I say I am rich, I need to have thousands, of pounds, dollars in the bank to validate that I am rich. Now, being rich it's actually being abundant and knowing that you have everything you want. That to me is true abundance, and it's just absorbing the whole outside world and knowing that this is all yours. You may not possess it physically, but it's all yours. And that's an abundance mindset as far as I'm concerned. And I know that at the flip of the switch, my bank balance could change from zero to whatever. if it happened, and it could go the other way, but I'm still, you know, I am all this. I am this experience. That's the way I like to look at it. But I love that example, and it's so true that the framework is so important. And I was actually going to mention Agnes has multiple people who manifest SPs back multiple times because they do the work. This is how I feel it happens. They do the work to get the result. They get the result, and then they forget the work. You know, they go back and it's like, oh, why? But he's left again. It's like, no, you didn't keep doing the work. They don't do the work for you. They come back because you've done the work, and they stay because you do the work. They don't stay if you go back to the old way. They stay when you do the work, and that I think it's so crucial to have that. And if you have the solid foundation, it won't feel like doing work. It will be natural. You'll naturally be it, and it won't feel like you have to do anything to get anymore because you just are that person. That's the way I like to look at it anyway. I think it's important to say that.
Yeah, you made that was a oh man, that's such a huge piece, man, because so many people they turn they turn this into a job. And
Yes,
I tell people all the time, like, this stuff shouldn't feel like a job. This
yes,
manifestation stuff it shouldn't be stressing you out. And like you said, they when they do get what they want, it's like they stop doing the work.
yeah,
And I tell people all the time to never stop doing this work for the rest of your life.
yeah,
Always do whatever you have to do to stay in that I amness, to stay in that self-love awareness, or whatever awareness or consciousness you're trying to find or get. Always to the day you leave this earth, always stay in that present awareness, do the work, because you want to keep what you get. And you don't and also, people got to look in the mirror at themselves and understand. And me and Agnes had a video, and we talked about it, and that's like, you got to stop trying to be slick. You
yeah.
cannot, you
Mentioned it
can't.
on Sunday. Yeah,
Yeah, you can't trick the universe. Like, I don't understand how people think like they can trick the universe into thinking, or oh, I'm gonna do this for X amount of time and then get my person back, or I'm gonna what, like, you can't. We get all of our intelligence, we get everything from the universe. The universe made us.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So how in the hell do you think you're going to outsmart or out trick? Like, you can't. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't do that. And so
Because
all of you.
that's what we are. That is what we are.
Exactly. And so it's like, you can't. Don't think that you're going to trick the universe and try to manipulate and only do certain things just to get what you want. You're not going to do that, because you're going to lose it again, because you're building, when you do stuff like that, you're building your foundation on sand. You're not
Yes,
building it on stone. You're not building it on stone, rock, concrete. You can't. Think about building a tall ass skyscraper,
yeah,
and your foundation is built from sand. That's basically what you're doing when you try to cut corners, or
yes,
you try to manipulate, is you're building a tall skyscraper in a big city with a sand foundation. And you already know it's going to happen. Eventually that building is going to come tumbling down the
yes.
more weight you put on top of it. And the
Absolutely.
weight that you put on top of it is your consciousness, your negative thoughts, negative emotions, the words you speak. The more you put that negative weight on top of it, and build, it's going to crumble, because you have a sand foundation. And so I think what you said was spot on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It shouldn't feel like work. It should be so enjoyable that you can bask in that naturally, and it just feels good, you know. And it's like, because I mean, people will say, especially when it comes to letting go, they'll say, "Oh, stop worrying about it," and then the person came back. That shift of not worrying about it was probably what you needed, yes. But it's the same with doing the work to get to a good state of consciousness, because if you do that work, it doesn't become an effort to get into that state, because you're already in that state. Granted, you will have experiences which will bring you out of it, but we go back to the door analogy. You go back naturally into that state of just being, or being love, whatever you want to call it. You just naturally drop back into that state. You can have moments, and this is where I think people, again, we've spoken about this before, people want to be feeling sensational 100% of the time. And they want to go to sleep feeling like that way and wake up feeling that way and spend the whole day and nothing's going to get them down. You know, you could have experiences that's that's going to make you upset, that's going to make you angry, that's going to make you annoyed. It's going to happen, and that's fine. I'm here to tell you, and I think Marvin's probably here to tell you as well, that is okay. That is totally 100% fine. The important thing is how you adapt when that happens and how you approach that energy and how you let that energy go. And letting it go, it makes it easier to go back into that state of being loved and being the thing. But when you can do that naturally and it doesn't feel like a chore or an effort to do that, that's when good things happen. So yeah, I totally agree. I don't feel like it should be made to feel like work. It should be so enjoyable that you naturally want to feel that way. And then that is when probably letting go is so effective, because you go from wanting to knowing, because you're like, oh, I already am this thing. And whenever I think about it, then I'm thinking good thoughts about it. I'm not thinking, where's it going to show up? How's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? I mean, I've got an example of one of mine from before all this coronavirus pandemic. I can't remember if I've shared it in any of my videos, but I was going to Germany for a football match with friends. There was 5 of us going in total. And on the November, I was trying to get match tickets. So the game was in February, and I've got a lot of contacts in Germany. So it was in a different stadium. So it was an away game, meaning it was harder to get tickets. Or so I was told. So I just imagined having the tickets. I just went into the imagination, and I just imagined having 5 tickets in the away end. I didn't want to sit in the home end. I wanted to be in the away end. So I thought, right, let it go. But I was asking people in Germany, you know, can you help me out with tickets, blah, blah, blah. I had 5 different people, I think it was, tell me, oh, I can't get you tickets. It's too hard. It's impossible. Smaller, you know, capacity, whatever. And I'm like, right, okay. I was completely unwavered. I was like, no, it's fine. I've got tickets. Don't worry about it. I've got tickets. Granted, there would be the odd thought at the beginning. The odd thought was, how am I going to get these? You know, this person's telling me this. Whenever I thought about getting tickets, that was the thought. And then I changed it again. That click, I'm like, why am I thinking like this? It was like, I've got these tickets. Why am I thinking I'm not going to get them? Because I have them. So this was in January. Match was in February. And I went on to an online website. Now, I'd been on this same website back in November, and they were quoting me €250 per ticket. And it was only getting one in the away end, and I'm like, no chance. As time wore on, I was like, no, I've got these tickets. And I just happened, this is talking about inspired action. I just happened to go onto the same website, went in, found the match, and it flashed up right at the very top. 5 tickets, away end, €40 each. And I just went, boom, bop, done. That was it. And I was like, right, okay, that's it. I bought them, fine.
Awesome.
That was the exact same website, exact same match, exact same page. And it went from being this for 1 ticket, and it was only 1, they never even had the 5, to then it coming up 5 tickets, away in, €40, and I'm like, that's it, done. And It was like, but that shift, and it is so important to shift that mindset when you go from wanting to knowing, and then knowing to being, and that is where I feel inspired action comes from. That, because this is probably the next video talking about inspired action, because I think that's a massive thing as well. We spoke about it briefly on Sunday with Agnes, but I think that could be, it's such an important thing. And it wasn't even a thought process. I didn't even think I'm going to go, I should do this and that. It was like, I was on the website anyway. I'm like, I'll just click it, and it was there. That, I mean, if I could have left that half an hour later, and it wouldn't have been there. Someone else could have bought it. But the timing and inspired action and timing is so important. And it was just in that spell. And people, anyone watching this will probably say, oh, that would have happened anyway. My question to that was, would it have really?
No.
Really, would it have happened anyway? Because I might not have even been in that website, and I would have been still trying to get tickets the other way by forcing it. You know what I mean? But it's such an important, powerful shift to have that, to go from wanting the thing to having the thing. And yeah, that experience itself, when I told my friends, they were like, I mean, they don't, believe in this stuff, but I said, yeah, I've been on and it was just there, and they were like, oh, that's so lucky, and I'm like, it's not lucky, but all right.
Yeah.
If you want to call it luck, that's fine. I'm all for that. But yeah, it's
That's
amazing.
amazing, man. That's a great story, man. That's yeah, no, luck has nothing to do with it. And like you said, timing, if you didn't take that inspired action, I don't
Yeah,
think it would have happened, So people saying it would have happened anyway, that's not
yeah,
true, because you acted on the exact right time, and
yeah,
and you were patient, and you waited. You weren't like, oh no, I can't get these tickets, I can't do this and that. I mean, it's just like Neville, because you remember, well, other people may not know this, but Neville had his second wife within a week
yeah,
of doing his visualization
yeah,
of having his wife. He was divorced from his first wife, and then within a week he had found and his second wife, and he
yeah.
didn't do any of the work, that
Exactly.
most people do. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Because he was far more advanced.
yeah.
But
Just
I mean,
assumed. Yeah, yeah. Just assumed she was
yeah,
there.
but I mean, this stuff, it when you really bask in that I amness and really get that down packed, this stuff doesn't have to take long. And I know that's what a lot of people want to hear is, how long is this going to take? Because people always ask me that
Yes.
questions, and they say, how long is it going to take? How long did it take you? Or how long did it take this person, or whatever the case may be? And understand everyone's time frame is different, because we are
Yeah,
all at different levels of manifestation.
yeah.
So,
100%.
but what I can say is that when you really get rid of the neediness, get rid of the placing stuff on pedestals, get rid of, the wanting. And like you said, you broke it down so good. You said, I forget exactly how you said it, but you said you went from wanting
Wanting to knowing
to
to being. Wanting to
being.
knowing to being. Yep.
Exactly. And that was so powerful to me, because when a person understands that, that's when you really can get what you want super quick. And from my estimation, like, I've noticed that people usually get what they want when they focus on that I am of being what it is that they want, instead of trying to come from a position of lack. Like, I feel like usually within 12 months, or maybe at the longest, maybe a couple years, 2 years, people generally get what they want to manifest.
Yeah.
It literally doesn't take long at all, because that bridge of it, and that's another thing. People talk about the bridge of incidents. That's always occurring, even when it seems like nothing is
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah.
Trust me, there's a lot of stuff occurring with the bridge of incidents. It's there, it's going on, it's happening. You just don't see it. So don't think, oh, I'm doing this, it's been 2 months and nothing's happening, or
Yeah.
it's been 3 months and nothing's happening. No, the
Yeah.
bridge of incidents is going to work for you.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it doesn't have to take long. People I've seen, and even in my personal life, like for instance with my SP, the year that I started actually focusing and doing the work and getting into that I am state, that feeling, that's when my manifestation happened. It didn't happen the first 4 years prior, because I wasn't consistent and I wasn't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
feeling it. You know what I mean? So I've noticed that whatever it is that I want, it literally can happen within 12 months or less. I've seen a lot of times it happens in 12 months or less. So it can
Excellent.
happen quick. I know a lot of the viewers are happy to hear that. Like, oh, it
Yeah,
can
I'm
happen
sure.
fast. It can happen fast, but only if you are really in that awareness state, like Neville, that I am, like you, when you manifested your tickets, like, oh, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to take inspired action and, click, boom, there it is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's absolutely amazing. Loving the importance of I am, and feeling it's crucial in this as well. Getting into that state, that God state of being the thing. I think it's so important. Yeah, it's wow. I can't. This almost like an hour's passed already, man. This has been we're jamming here. It's excellent. But yeah, I love it. It's just this has been honestly fantastic. It's so good because I know a lot of people on my channel, it's predominantly around the Neville stuff, and
Mm.
there's very little about self love. And I know how important it is, but I wanted to really use this to break down how important it is from a Neville perspective, how it ultimately self love is a state of consciousness, because it's not technically loving the self. It's about being the love. It's not about it's it's not really about it, taking the self almost out of it and just expressing that love, you know. And self-love is a good way to a good term to use for it, but I wanted to go more into the mechanics of what it actually means to feel that way and how you can get into the consciousness of that. And by doing so, how you just, you know, miracles, those seeming miracles will happen. Things will just unfold. And as you say, Bridge of Incident's brilliant because we spoke about this as well on Sunday. You won't know you've crossed it until you've crossed it. You won't know you're on it until, you know, you get to the end and you physically experience the end. And it's happened with me with several manifestations of my own personally, when I've looked back and went, I could have never in a million years consciously planned all those steps. I would never have been able to do that. And that's why, you know, that's where trust and faith comes in. It's like, man, like, you know, my subconscious has got this. It's telling me it's got this, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, just go ahead, just go and do what you've got to do. And by trusting in that and going, right, if I'm living from the premise of already having and being this thing, then I know it's going to work out. I can't doubt anything. You know, things may happen that may seem negative, but it's not going to move me. It's not going to throw me off balance. It's not going to catch me off guard. I'm still going to keep being me, you know. And Neville always says, like in some of his lectures, like, you know, if you cut off your arm, would you stop being, you know, like you? No, you're still being you. You know, the arm's just, you know, it's a tool. It's, you know, part of the human body, obviously. But it's so important to get into that state and just live from the premise of that state, because everyone here can do it. Everyone watching this, and myself and Marvin, you can do it. You can live that way regardless of circumstances. You can do it. You can be it. And it's so important to know what that would feel like. And just a quick tip I want to give people: if you don't know what you want from an external point of view, if you can't imagine something, ask yourself, what would feeling love look like? What would being love look like to me? And don't think about the visualization. Let the imagination give you something. Let it give you a photo, even if it's a photograph, it will give you it. And then that's the premise. It's like, can always go back to that, and that's the thing. And you can trust in that because it's came from inside. I think that's a perfect thing to end up on. I don't know if you want to add anything else to that, Marvin.
No, not really, man. I think you nailed it on the head. Just that was a perfect example. Just don't, because I found that as well. Is I try not to force my visualizations. I try to just let them come naturally. And I think that's a great tip, is to just, what do you want? Okay, what do you think that would feel like? And whatever your subconscious mind gives you, you know, it's giving you the scene.
Yeah.
It's
What would it look like? Yeah. How would that look? Yeah.
It's giving it to you. So I just, whatever that scene is, it pops in my head. Like you said earlier, you could have never thought, you know, the Bridge of Incidents would have happened that way. And so I tend to let my scenes flow to me instead of trying to necessarily create a scene.
Yeah.
I tend to just let them flow to me and then stick with it because it feels so natural. It's your mind telling you, like, here, this is a natural scene that can happen that you believe. So I think that was a great way to say
definitely. Awesome, man. So what we'll do is, folks, we'll wrap it up here. Marvin, thanks so much for joining, man. This has been amazing. And it's just the beginning of something special. I definitely feel we're going to get something sorted soon as well, because this has been, we've left a lot for people to digest, and I'm sure they're going to want more. What I'll do is I'll get your channel and your email and stuff. I'll fire it into the description of my video. If you want, you know, share the video as well, by all means.
Yeah, I will too. I will definitely put your info on my channel as well.
Awesome. And if you want to leave anything with anyone before we wrap up.
Listen, man, I just want to let all you guys know, thank you for watching us. Thank you for joining me and Joe on our journey so early on. Joe knows what he's talking about, and we just want you guys to win. We know you guys will win, but it's up to you to lay the solid foundation. Lay the solid foundation, and you guys will win.
Here. Totally agree with that again. But yeah, thanks for joining us, folks, and we will both see you in the next one. Take care.